Hello everyone, welcome back. In this episode here, I'm gonna go, let me see if you can see that a little bit better. Okay, good. So in this episode here, I'm gonna be talking about some of my experience I'm having using the banks now. So I've gone from no longer doing outside the banking system to just trying to do in the banking system. And it was a test. I'm testing out what's going to work, what's the best way to work, and what's maybe more riskier and everything. But I figured I'd try the banking system, and this is what I've come up so far. And this was a test to both test the banking system and any scammers out there that wanted to, you know, try to take money from the banks. So this is what I found out on a recent scam here, and I'm going to share that with you so everybody can understand what's going on. And here's what happened. I made some trades on localbitcoins.com for a wire transfer, domestic. And so what happened is basically I was getting orders in and a little suspicious, but at the same time, if people are sending real money in, I mean, there's what's there to be suspicious about? But I charge quite a bit of premium for my sale price. Anyways, I recently got a call. Well, I recently checked my online banking, and I noticed two of my accounts wouldn't transfer to each other. So I called the bank, and they told me, well, we got something here. It's on hold. Now, I'm not sure if that's because I'm, you know, dealing with Bitcoin, or if they're seeing my episodes here, or if this is the government in any way, FBI or any other regulatory agency, was also experimenting with some of the things I've been doing, trying to basically watch me. They did let me know I am being watched, ironically. So, okay, we'll see. And I asked him, did I commit any fraud? Did I do anything wrong? I mean, is there something I should know about? I was very clear about that. And they basically, the bank told me, well, we're not going to report anything. And the issue was, what happened was someone wired me money, and then they tried to reverse that wire. And I was a little surprised because they're claiming fraud. So a couple of things is going to go happen here. Probably nothing's going to happen because the banks don't really care. All right. And that's true for credit card companies. When you get your identity stolen or things like that in that nature, here's what happens. Basically, you are left to defend yourself. Okay, and the only reason why the banks put a freeze on the account and everything, and they're going to close everything out. So all that is done with. It's frozen. It's closing, and any money left in there. Fortunately, the bitcoins that I was selling, they're all profited bitcoins, and it wasn't a lot. It was a test, and so to find out about something, you really gotta, now what I'm about to tell you is could be construed in many different ways, but uh, for me, to test something out, you always got to put a bait out there, and that bait is whatever Bitcoin or money or whatever else you're trying to bait. If it's fish, you put a worm on the hook. Anyways, um, what I realized is to catch someone who's scamming, you got to put the bait out there. You got to put the bait, and the bait is Bitcoin or money. And if they bite, that's fine. Even if they think they got away, or they feel like they committed a crime, or maybe who knows? Maybe it's the banks, or maybe it's the government. They want to know what I'm doing. I kind of find it strange because if they want to know what I'm doing, I just watch my videos. Anyways, here's excuse me. Let me get rid of that there. Okay. Anyways, so here's what's happening. Okay. So here's what's happening. So the wire was done. I called and I said, "Hey, is that my money?" And what I did was I tried to move the money out as quickly as possible out of the account. So no major losses was done. So, anyways, uh, my point is that they tried to wire the money, and then later on they claim fraud. Now that's kind of hard to do, to claim fraud, unless they're saying I claim fraud. But again, no one took action against me. No one made a police report against me. I'm being quote unquote watched by the banks. They can watch me all day long. I mean, pretty boring. They can watch my video series if they really want to watch me. Wouldn't mind getting the views. Anyways, so what happened was they said, well, it's been flagged. I'm gonna be, on the accounts are hold. They're gonna close the account, so they're just gonna give me the money. And I asked them, well, am I gonna be able to, open an account with you guys? Should I open another account? And they were a little cautious. They were like, well, I don't know if you can open an account with us, but you can take your money anywhere else. So I find that strange that now I've heard, and I couldn't confirm it until I can confirm it, but I've heard that if you are dealing in Bitcoin, your banks will try to shut you out. They'll try to close your accounts, whatever. Now, it could be because there's so much fraudulent activity going on with Bitcoin. And what if this stuff existed before Bitcoin came around, so this is nothing new. But here's the thing. I put the bait out there. It's profited Bitcoin. It wasn't a lot of Bitcoins, and I put it out there, and I want to see what scammer would bite on it. And I did get a bite. I got a pretty good bite too, because these scammers started wiring me money. I guess the assumption was they can come back in and claim fraud. Like I was frauding them. Well, here's the thing now. As much as I'm on the radar, the person who sent the money is also on the radar. Now, whether that person was real, had a fake identity, if you came in, there was a picture of you coming in. You have fingerprints. You have to do a wire, you have to go into a bank, present an ID, present paperwork to fill out. So your fingerprints are on the paperwork, everything's on the paperwork. You may have a legal stance on a claim of fraud, but in the end, if this is something that happens quite a bit, you may become a target eventually. So eventually you'll get caught. So I'm not worried. So now that there's a record of this person trying to scam, we'll just give him the rope to hang himself with, so to speak. So, enjoy the freedom while you have it, because it's only a matter of time before they close down on whoever committed this scam or fraud. Anyways, so here you go, and so that's my update on using the banking system. And the banking system are really there to protect themselves. They don't really care about your money, but long as they get to profit from your money, that's what matters. Now, if it comes to risk, they may not want your money anymore, ironically. Anyways, so that's the update on any scams that are going on. So I talked to the bank and I said, well, how is that possible? How are they able to reverse a wire transfer? So basically the bank has, I guess, some kind of obligation. You're going to have to read your disclosures with the bank. I mean, they're like, well, it's in our disclosure that if we need to close your account, we'll close out your account, because we need to protect ourselves. Because the banks are worried about, regulations, of course. So I guess they felt that maybe my activity with Bitcoin was a little too risque for them to handle, which, that's understandable. I have no gripes about it. This experiment also confirmed some of my other rumors that I've heard, that if you try to use Bitcoin through a banking system like something that I did, where I had people wire me or transfer money, that my account can be closed. They'll close my account, and they'll start watching me. So I guess that's true. That is true. I've confirmed it now. So anybody who wants to know if you're going to use your banking system to deal with Bitcoin, you may have your account closed. Not because of anything you're doing, but maybe because a lot of scammers out there are fraudulent with their activity. But the scammers are also going to take a risk themselves. Now, whether it's actually a government entity scamming or an individual or a criminal scamming, remember what I said. Every time a crime is committed in the real world, all right, in the real world, you leave a trail. And that trail always leads back to you. It's only a matter of time. How many times are you going to scam? How many times are you going to commit fraud before it actually comes back to you? Now, the only way a person can really get rid of fraud or get away with fraud is if they are the government, they are the governing entity committing fraud. That's the only way that someone who's fraudulent can get away with fraud, is that they're, this is sanctioned by, a government entity. So in other words, in the real world, you leave tracks or trail, and that trail always leads back to you. But in the real world, you can cover your trail. What does it take? Well, what's it take for someone to change your identity in the real world? Well, they just get on the computer and wipe your information out and give you a new identity. What about fingerprints? Well, wipe that out of the system. So the governing entity, it's possible they might be colluding together with possible scammers. I don't know, but this is what I do know. I know that if you try to use the banking system and you're dealing in Bitcoin, you think you're having things wired in and out or cash deposits. I'm not sure, but you will be watched. And the bank told me you will be watched. You're flagged for being watched. So I was like, okay, all right, that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, if they really want to watch me, they would watch my episodes and they would know everything that I'm doing. I'm disclosing everything. I mean, there's nothing I've done illegally. There's no laws that have been broken, since there are no laws regarding this matter. So, anyways, that's it. That's an update. So that's another scam for people to watch. Although it's risky for the other person, because wire transfers require you to go to a bank, all right, provide identification, sign off on paperwork. So I find it hard to believe that this was claimed as a fraud. I think it might have been either, I mean, I'm just speculating, but here's some other theories. The banks were actually doing this, and they were testing me out. A government agency was doing this, and they were testing me out, and now they realize I'm real, and they want their money back, and so they have to say I was fraudulent, but of course, no crime was charged against me, because I was not fraudulent. So interesting things are going on around here. As more and more I get into Bitcoin, it's becoming more and more of a mystery and intrigue. It's just drawing me deeper and deeper. It's not about the money, because if you see my episodes, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it for the Bitcoins. But even despite the Bitcoins, I mean, I literally trade Bitcoins, and I'm able to profit off of that. So I'm not really even worried about the Bitcoins. As long as there's a market, I will always be wealthy in that sense. Now, will I be cash rich? Probably not. Anyways, so that's this episode. What I guess the takeaway is, I did talk to customer service after I talked to prevention loss department, and I guess they don't want to lose any more money on fraudulent claims, so they're just closing my account. Which is all right, cool. All right, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Just go ahead and do that. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. The other thing is now, when I talked to a customer representative at the bank, they basically said, well, The best thing to do is cash. Cash is not retraceable, you know, and not only that, but they have to show an error. When you deposit money into a bank account and you can prove that an error was made, um, that's the only way they're gonna take the money back out of a deposit. So it's possible errors can be made, but the chances of that, very difficult, very difficult. So that's something I may do. Ironically, the customer service recommend using a third party. Interesting. Yeah, the banks are recommending third party like Western Union. I might look at that because that would require someone to actually give Western Union money, and then once it's gone, it's sent. And so probably going to be harder to get money out that way. So I'm still learning a lot, but at the same time, I'm also putting bait out there because the scammers, they're going to get caught. If you do this enough times, enough record, enough evidence will be left. You can't completely, well, the physical evidence will always be there. The evidence that is manipulated may be changed or destroyed, but there's always a physical evidence. There's no perfect crime. So anyways, I'm probably going to start doing things in cash deposits only. The other option is, I may not, I may still do real world trades. Maybe not, maybe so, I don't know. Bitcoin is changing all the time. It is literally just changing by the minute on what's going on as far as who's accepting Bitcoin, how it's going to be taxed, how it's going to be regulated. All these things are going on. I mean, banks are getting together and figuring out what the hell to do with Bitcoin. So there's a lot of things going on around here that is, making a lot of changes for me. And of course, for everything that happens out there, I will change with it. So now I have to modify the way I bring Bitcoins out to the real world market, which is fine. I'll do that. It is what it is. So I guess I'll tell you what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and what's going on. Maybe that'll help some of the other people who are trading, or maybe this would give scammers more information. I'm not sure. Anyways, I'll just keep putting the bait out there. I'll keep putting the chum out there. You guys keep coming by and getting it. It's kind of interesting to play, playing with sharks or whatever. But it's something that still intrigues me. I'm still intrigued and fascinated by this whole thing. It's almost very addicting. I mean, it's come to a point where I'm fascinated. It's a phenomenon. It's a mystery. There's a lot of intrigue involved. I mean, my bank is watching me. Isn't that kind of crazy? I've been banking with these guys for years. I've been buying and selling stuff, making money for years, and then I buy and sell Bitcoins. Now they're watching me. That's kind of weird. That's freaking me out a little bit, but at the same time, if I'm being watched, it means I'm onto something. Because if I wasn't onto something, who cares? I let the crazy guy go. Let him be. So, anyways, that's my experience so far. Hopefully, everything will be situated with my bank, and I guess I can positively confirm that if you use the banking system via Bitcoin or use Bitcoin via the banking system via money, there could be a chance that you're going to be watched, you're going to be scrutinized, you may be scammed on, they'll close your account. That is confirmed. That is real. That's happening to me right now. So when I trade with other people, I tell them, well, just have a bank account. I'll just deposit money in your account, and that way, you just send me the Bitcoin, and I'll do the. Well, it seems like, one trader told me, ironically, it's the guy who doesn't have a bank account, or doesn't want to use a bank account for whatever reason. I guess he's done this, and he's realized, wow, um, they're gonna close my bank account. I don't know. Has anybody had any experience with this? If anybody has, please leave a comment, or a video response. Don't forget to like or dislike this. And as always, stay tuned for the next episode. This journey through, using Bitcoin. It's not over yet. It's too interesting and too fascinating for me to let go. I mean, it's just become a part of my life now, and the more I experience it and go through it's revealing a lot of things to me that I can now confirm, true or false, myth, right? Myth or truth, you know. So we'll see what happens. And then, of course, as other things start to unfold and reveal themselves, I will also reveal it to the viewers, because I think this is something that maybe you should all need to know. Like, how does your banking system work? How does Bitcoin work with your banking system? How do scammers try to scam you out of both your money and your Bitcoins? And how we can prevent some of that, and also, most importantly, how they can get caught. So the person who tried to reverse their wire, now the real person may be, that may be happening. A real person may have had their bank account fraudulently compromised. That happens. I was actually talking to customer service at my bank, and they said, well, unfortunately, that does happen. And I was told that he gets calls like this twice a day. So could you imagine, a bank that has millions and millions of customers, and twice a day he's getting calls saying they wiped out their account. Now, here's the thing: is it really scammers? Is it the banks? Is it the government? Because I claimed them. I said, I'm going to call the police and I'm going to make a police report. I'm going to dispute it. And the banks were saying, well, you're not going to dispute it with us. You're going to have to dispute it with whoever wired the money. And that's just a simple credit card. Credit cards do that all the time when fraud is committed. Well, you can't. You're not going to go after us. You're going to go after the guy who committed the fraud. But if you think about it, didn't the credit card companies facilitate in that fraud? I guess the fact that they didn't know at the time kind of releases them of any liability. But anyways, whether you use a banking system or not, I'm learning your money is your money, and you got to protect your money because you're going to be responsible for your money. Also, Bitcoins, same thing. So I guess my point is, if this kind of scam exists in US dollars anyways, this scam will also exist with Bitcoin. That's just the nature of it. It's a little bit easier in the fact that, once Bitcoins are gone, it's gone. But at the same time, what did I risk? I risked my free Bitcoin. And if people know what Bitcoin really is and how it works, they wouldn't try to, I don't know, maybe some people will try to steal it. I guess there's always going to be thieves in the world. But my point is, my risk in this was actually zero, because it was all profited Bitcoins, and it's a test. Excuse me. It's a test. It's a test of it's a test of how this thing really works. How does a banking system work? You know, who's pulling the buttons, who's pushing the buttons, who's pulling the strings. And to find out, you got to put bait on that hook. And if you want to catch that fish, well, you got to put that bait on the hook. And you know, after so many times, they may not get lucky. You know, it will catch up. So, anyways, that concludes this episode here. Just want to share that with you. And next episode, I'll probably do another chart analysis. And I'll tell you how I'm dealing with my bank closing some of my accounts. They didn't take my money, okay, they just said they're going to close the accounts, which they may be doing me a favor because my accounts may be compromised, okay? So it turns out if you give your account number out, there's many ways that a scammer can come in and, try to take your money. But, again, you can only do that. The trick only works so many times. Or the crime that's committed can only be done so many times before a trail, there is always a physical trail that will be left, and that trail will always lead back to you. Alright? So, thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye now.